The cosmos beckons. It has always called to us, from the moment our ancient ancestors first looked up at the glittering night sky. For millennia, we could only dream of reaching those distant points of light. We were bound to our world, our feet firmly planted on the earth. Then, in a brilliant flash of scientific insight and engineering courage, we built rockets. We flung ourselves off our home planet, taking our first tentative steps into the vast, dark ocean of space. These journeys were incredible, but fleeting. Each mission was a one-way trip for the magnificent machines that carried us. Their components were destined to burn up or fall back to the sea. We needed a new dream. We needed a new kind of ship. What if a spacecraft could be more than just a single-use capsule? What if it could be a true vehicle that could journey out and return, ready to fly again? The dream was of a spacefaring truck, a workhorse for the heavens. The responsibility for crafting this marvel of engineering fell to a company called Rockwell International. Drawing on decades of aerospace expertise, their engineers and technicians in Southern California took on the immense challenge. They weren't just building another rocket or another airplane, they were tasked with creating something that was both, and yet entirely, new. It required groundbreaking innovations in materials, science, computer science, and aerodynamics. Imagine a vehicle the size of a medium-sized airliner, but one built for the rigors of space. That was the Space Shuttle orbiter. The most critical part of its design was the payload bay, a cavernous cylindrical compartment running down its back. This bay was 60 feet long and 15 feet wide, large enough to hold a school bus. At the front was the two-level crew cabin, the nerve center and living quarters for up to 7 astronauts. The upper level was the flight deck, a dizzying array of over 2,000 switches, dials, and displays. The orbiter was covered in a mosaic of thousands of specialized thermal protection tiles. Each tile was uniquely shaped and numbered, fitting into the orbiter's skin like a piece in a complex jigsaw puzzle. The journey of the Space Shuttle orbiter began not with a gentle takeoff, but with a controlled explosion of unimaginable power. At the moment of launch, the 3 main engines at the orbiter's tail would ignite. Together they would unleash over 7 million pounds of thrust, violently pushing the entire stack off the ground. Once their fuel was spent, they would separate and parachute into the Atlantic Ocean. The main engines would shut down. MECO. A moment later, the now empty external tank would detach and fall away. The orbiter was now truly a spacecraft, coasting in the silence of space. Hitting the upper atmosphere at incredible speed, the orbiter became a plasma-wrapped meteor, yet return as a graceful glider, soaring through the atmosphere to land like an airplane. In total, a fleet of 6 Space Shuttle orbiters was built, each a unique character in this grand saga of space exploration. The very first Enterprise was a test vehicle that never ventured into space. Columbia, Discovery, Atlantis. Together, this fleet of 5 spaceplanes would fly a staggering 135 missions over 3 decades. This story, however, is also one of profound loss. We learned this in the most heartbreaking way on 2 separate occasions. On April 12, 1981, exactly 20 years to the day after Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space, a new kind of spaceship stood ready on the launch pad at Kennedy Space Center. The 2 astronauts, John Young, a veteran of Gemini and Apollo, Robert Crippen, a rookie. Never before had a machine so complex been flown for the very first time with a crew on board. When the clock hit 0, fire and steam erupted from the launch pad. Columbia rose, slowly at first, then with astonishing speed, a white angel riding a pillar of smoke into the sky. It touched down on the runway with surgical precision. It was a perfect landing. The space shuttle had worked. The space shuttle's greatest and most enduring achievement was not just in deploying satellites or conducting experiments, but in its role as a celestial construction vehicle. For more than a decade, the shuttle fleet was dedicated to the assembly of the International Space Station. Astronauts would use the shuttle's robotic arm, the Canadarm, to lift enormous multi-ton modules out of the bay. They would then meticulously guide these pieces into place, bolting together a home, a laboratory in the vacuum of space. The orbiters flew 37 missions dedicated to building and servicing the ISS. The ISS stands today as a testament to that work, a beacon of international cooperation and scientific inquiry. For the Space Shuttle, that end came on July 8, 2011, Atlantis on the launch pad, the very last time. Huge crowds gathered to witness the end of an era. The launch of Atlantis was a poignant and powerful moment. This was not just another mission, it was a farewell. Atlantis docked with the International Space Station, its crew transferring tons of supplies and equipment. On July 21, 2011, in the darkness before dawn, Atlantis made its final return to Earth. As its wheels came to a stop on the runway, a profound silence fell over the Mission Control Center, followed by applause. The 30-year journey of the Space Shuttle was complete. The engines have gone cold. The orbiters, once masters of the sky, now stand in quiet reverence in museums across the United States. But the legacy isn't confined to display halls. It's living, woven into exploration and felt on Earth. The shuttle deployed the Hubble Space Telescope, then flew heroic servicing missions to repair and upgrade it. The knowledge we gained reshaped our understanding of the universe. It represents a generation of dreamers, engineers, and astronauts who dared to build a spaceship that could fly home. The shuttle may no longer fly, but its spirit soars on in the new spacecraft it inspired and in the enduring human quest to explore the stars.